Verse 31. This is real frustrating reading. Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness just to keep the Sabbath days and the feast days, they pursued after them a great number. And having overtaken them, they camped against them. They camped against them. Oh, now they messing with mine. They camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. You see this? They made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice, satisfy you. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day, to make the Sabbath day unholy unto the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them. They didn't fight, nor stop the places where they had hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children. They killed the men and the wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. They killed 1,000 people to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood here, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws, fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth, kill us all. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever it be shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him, neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. That's why the same ones that was murdered. Revelation 6 and 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, prophecy, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying to the Most High, how long, O Most High, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell where? That dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. See? So here we seeing this happening right here. And we still got some that's going to be martyrs. They call martyrs that's going to be killed for the word of the Most High. Then he's sending the Mashiach Yahushua and the holy angels to bring down all these kingdoms, as it is written. This ain't going to be nothing but dust and smell of smoke. Better read 2 Ezra 13, 9 to 11. But here we are in the Greek Empire. And they saying, hey, if they come after us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even as such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were stay unto them. So they joined their forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. but the rest fled to the heathen for security. Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars, and what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised violently. Remember, if you circumcise your children, say put them to death. So when they found the children not circumcised, they circumcised them violently. Plus they gave them the rules and regulations of the Most High, the laws, statutes, commandments of the Most High. They pursued also after the proud men, and their work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of kings. Neither suffered they the senator triumph. See. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now have pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction, in the wrath of indignation. And therefore, my sons, he told all his sons, be ye zealous for the law. Whose laws is it? It's the Most High's law. He said, be zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Carter remembers what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall you receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found? He's going through the whole history of. Was not Abraham, our forefather, found faithful in temptation? And it was imputed unto him for righteousness when he offered Isaac, his only son that he had. He had sent Ishmael and Hagar away. Had Isaac offered him up as a sacrifice. That was faith. He's going through all these operations of faith. Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made master of Egypt. See? So we're going on telling all this. So now let's jump to verse 4. And it says, well, let's look at 1 Maccabees 3:48. Because I like to show y'all their pictures in the Bible, right? But look what it says. And laid open the book of the law, the Bible, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Yeah, I can't show you enough. It's a holy Bible. The heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images. There it is. It said, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. The heathen sought to paint the likeness of their images. Come on, man. Can't get no clearer than that. Say a picture worth 1,000 words. There it is. I mean, take it or leave it. This is the truth. So, now, when we look at 1 Maccabees, the 4th chapter, you know, a lot of times we were totally outnumbered, you see. But the Most High, He always gets the victory when we stand for Him. Listen, let's jump to verse 34. It says, 1 Maccabees 4:34. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight by the Israelites and their allies, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die violently, he went into Antiochia. Like y'all talking about, like you see in the so-called New Testament, that we were called Christians. In Antiochia, that was named after this wicked dude, Antiochus Epiphanes. In Antioch, that was named after him. Yeah, they call us all kind of names. Unto this day, don't they? Paul said he was an Israelite. That's I read. That was in Romans 11:1. Or the tribe of Benjamin, or the seed of Abraham. Mashiach Shai says in Hebrews 7:14. But it's evidence, the fact that our power, Mashiach Shai, sprang out of Judah, Jacob's fourth-born son. So, Where is it that we call ourselves Christians as Israelites? Which come from a French or Latin word, cretin, which means extremely stupid. Look it up. Poor fella, you're extremely stupid. Just like they'll look at us and say, oh, they'll put us down and say, we're extremely stupid because we're bringing forth this information of the truth that's contrary to all religions that claim to believe in the Most High, but they claim they're not Israelites, they're Gentiles, and he only showed his word unto Jacob, to Israel. He said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. In Amos 3 and 2. The Israelites. So here we are. We see what the Greeks did, the so-called white man did. That's why they went to war with us. Judas Maccabee said, hey, Mattathias said, hey, Judas gonna be your leader, your avenger, your mighty soldier, to lead you in war. So this is what it says. When they sing, when Lysias, this wicked Edomite, saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary, the temple that they defiled with swine flesh and all kind of abominable things, right? Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Sinai. We're doing a little history tonight, y'all. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, that it took all that time that we went over earlier to get it built, when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profane and the gates burned up and the scrubs growing in the courts as in a forest or in one of the mountains, yeah, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation, crying, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven, cried to the Most High. Like I showed you all the different sounds that the trumpets made during the feast of the blowing of the trumpets. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. Go fight against all of them until he cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests and blameless conversation, priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law. Whose laws are they? Or whose law is it? It's the Most High that created this law. We just wrote them with his finger, the work of the Most High, who had pleasure in the law. He chose those that were blameless, had blameless conversation, of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down. Look what they did. Look at go to you talk about it. Go to 2 Maccabees. Let me show you some a little bit more. Go to 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Let's start verse 1. Now, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High. Isn't that what these poach-up-eating preachers doing to y'all right now? We not in the law. We not about mercy and grace. We Gentiles being filled with the Holy Ghost and speaking in tongues and so forth. But don't know who we've been grafted in, but don't know who you've been grafted in among. To this day, Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens. They don't have to even deal with them. Now they do it automatically. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. These are laws of the Most High. And not to live after the laws of the Most High. See? Not to live after the laws of the Most High. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. Took all that time and all the efforts that we knew in the Persian Median Empire to get our temple back. A whole year. We had to fight to get the temple back once it was declared that we would build it. They hindered us from building it. The second year, we started building it again. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem and to call it the temple of Jupiter. Hear this? This is what these Edomites did. To call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius. And remember, all the gods of the nations are idols. Psalms 96 and 5. That's why you say to call the temple in Jerusalem, to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius, and that in Zarazim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. Hear that? Listen what they did. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots, prostitutes, in the temple, in the church, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, selling their bodies as prostitutes in the places of the holy places, the temples. Not only swine's flesh, but they selling prostitutes, hoes, up in the temple, up in the church. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful, to profane the children and everyone. Listen, the altar also was filled with profane things, unholy things, which the law forbidden. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts. It was against the law for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts. Listen, and to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Come on. That's why when you get into the New Testament, this is the Old Testament, the Greek Empire, going into the Roman Empire. That's why you get to the New Testament, you're in the Roman Empire. But since the Greek Empire, until the time that you look at Matthew on, it was against the law for them to call themselves an Israelite. That's why when you go into the New Testament, the people are so off, like you off now. Our people are off now, the same way as Paul had to go out and deal with Israelites. Peter and James and all of them had to go to deal with the Israelites that scattered abroad, that had lost their identity. It was against the law for them to call themselves an Israelite in the Greek Empire. We're not talking about the Roman Empire when you get to the New Testament. This is all the way from the Greek Empire to the Roman Empire. Remember I told you that blank page is the Greek Empire. That's what we're reading about here. That he took out. Protestant churches took out. But it should be right there in it, because it's in the original King James 6:11 Bible. It's in there. It's in that one. But look what they did. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Just during the so-called white man's empire. We in captivity under them. So it was against the law for any of us to call ourselves an Israelite or a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth, here go your birthdays right here. See, if we enjoyed dealing with birthdays. We deal with no birthdays. And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, against us, the Israelites, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.